I wake up every morning with a mission. Thank the Lord for everything that I was given. Only give energy to positive things. Focus on the joy the day will bring. And now I'm looking better. Right now, I'm feeling better. Right now, I'm living better. Right now, so turn it up if you feel me right now. Right now, I'm looking better. Right now, I'm feeling better. Right now, I'm living better. Right now, so turn it up if you feel me right now. Right now.
Welcome to the Jazmyne Show.
Good evening and welcome to the Jazmyne Show. We are happy you've joined us today. I know you were probably wondering, why does she have like some things on the table, alcohol and a lighter? What is that all about? Well, today we are talking social media challenges. That's right. Cinnamon challenge, fire challenge, all those kinds of things you've seen pop up on your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. We'll be chatting about it this evening. But before we talk about our topic of the evening, let's talk health and news and health in Hollywood. The U.S. has had its first diagnosis of Ebola here on U.S. soil. In recent weeks, Mr. Duncan visited Liberia, and when he arrived, he had initially no symptoms or signs that's being reported. And when he went to the hospital after running some tests with CDC, they found that he actually did contract Ebola. In recent weeks, the cases have increased. There have been over 7,000 cases of Ebola with over 3,000 deaths. Birth control pills, are they a thing of the past? Maybe, maybe not. According to the American Academy for Pediatrics, they are suggesting that doctors should talk to teenagers about alternative methods. Methods may be such as birth control implants or intrauterine devices, also known as IUDs. They're suggesting this because remembering to take the pill has become a problem and is also one of the issues with unexpected pregnancies. They're stating they're not promoting teens and young adults to engage in sexual activity. They're just aware that this is what's going on and they want to provide the best measures possible. In health in Hollywood, Real Housewives stars are becoming some of the latest stars behind bars. Teresa and Joe from Real Housewives of New Jersey were recently sentenced due to bankruptcy fraud as well as wire fraud. Joe was sentenced to 41 months in prison and Teresa was sentenced to 15 months in prison. The judge was lenient and allowed those sentences to be served at staggering times. So Teresa will report in January, and once her sentence is finished, Joe will report and serve his 41 months. And I know you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with health? Well, we talk about everything, public health. So when you think about single parents and the prison system, all of that falls into the realm of the Jazmyne Show. So nothing escapes our discussion. Other health in Hollywood, Tracy Morgan may be reported to always have to use some form of walking assistance since his recent injuries. He's been having a public feud with Walmart, according to TMZ, because Walmart is stating some of his injuries are because he did not wear a seatbelt. Tracy Morgan stated that him and the people who were riding on his tour bus were doing nothing wrong. When we return from the break, we'll be diving into our topic of the evening with social media, the challenges, and what is it all about? Why? Why is everyone engaging in that? Stick around and we'll be back from the break.
Now I'm looking better. Right now, I'm feeling better.
happy you joined us. I am your host, Jazmyne Simmons, and we are joined with Dr. Taronda Lee, a professor at the Institute of Public Health at Florida A&M University, and we're going to talk about the different behavior changes and the impact of social media on risky behaviors among young adults, everyone. So without further ado, welcome to the Jazmyne Show, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So we have some props. We've been watching YouTube, and we have like alcohol here, rubbing alcohol and a lighter.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a fire challenge. We have the cinnamon challenge. We have all these different challenges. There's even a condom challenge, and not the one we need in public health, unfortunately,
No.
about using one, but there's a challenge where a condom is inserted into the nose and pulled out through the mouth. So there's all kinds of things we want to talk to you about today.
Right.
So what is it about social media that encourages or make people want to mimic these behaviors?
Well, first of all, social media is powerful, and it's just because it is social. So we know that we are social beings. So when we look at a lot of the behavioral theories that we have that explain why people do what they do, a lot of it is because of social norms. That means what is the accepted behavior in your social group or in your in your social group or in your environment. And then some of it is just reinforcement. We like things like attention, and we like to be reinforced. If you get a reinforcement for a behavior that's positive or that's attention or something that you want, then definitely people will perform that behavior no matter how irrational, no matter how dangerous. And that's really the problem that we're talking about today, the risky behaviors, like the challenge that you just talked about, the condom challenge.
Not the one we need, right?
Not the one we need.
We're still forcing for one of those in public health
Right.
to wear and utilize one, but not inhaling one. That's not by far. And with social media, so the social norms, would that be falling into the realm of peer pressure? Like, my friend did the challenge, let me jump in. What role is the peer pressure in social media?
Definitely, peer pressure plays a huge role because most of these challenges, we're talking about the involvement of young people.
Right.
So adolescents that have access to social media through their phones or computers. But definitely, that's what it is. Peer pressure is part of that. The way that our social norms work is that whoever is the important group to you, or whatever the group that you want to fit in, those are the people that you'll listen to. So sometimes peer influence is stronger than parents, it's stronger than teachers, it's stronger than a lot of the influences and the voices we want them to be listening to. Peer influence is a major influencer in that group.
And you mentioned parents, and that's interesting
Yeah.
because on some of the videos, and it's not good, and I hate to say this, but I've seen in some of the videos where parents are there recording and encouraging and basically cheering their children on as they partake in these risky behaviors.
Yeah.
What role are parents playing as well in encouraging these behaviors?
Right. Well, first of all, we know that especially for young children, parents ought to be monitoring what their kids are doing, what they're being exposed to on social media, who they're interacting with. But in terms of the challenges, it is remarkable that you will see that. It's really disturbing, but I think what some of those parents are doing, and we have some research about this, but what some of those parents are doing is because they want for their children to have fulfilling social lives and have positive social interactions, they are willing to do a lot of things to help their child fit in, or to be popular, or to be accepted. Parents are willing to do that. I think the thing that parents may be overlooking is that the types of social interactions that we want children to be involved in is with them in a positive way. So in this day and time, you have kids that are booked. The kids are booked. They have soccer, they have clubs after school, multiple sports. So it's difficult for them to really have the time to establish those meaningful types of social interactions. And I think parents just want to facilitate that, but they're kind of missing how to do it. The way that you facilitate it as a parent would be, for example, there's research that shows that just sitting down to have a meal with your child is something that not only has an emotional benefit, but it also has health benefits. So those are the kinds of interactions that parents probably need to be seeking out. But and it seems strange, but their intentions are not bad. They just want their child to be socially engaged.
And that's almost also, it's like with the parents who are there and they're bystanding, to them it's like, oh, maybe I'm being cool. My child my child can hang around me and their friends think I'm cool. So it could be kind of part of that as well. I always wonder if it's like a parent wanting to fit in and be a
Everyone
part of this
wants
era.
to be the cool parent. I want it to be maybe the cool parent who has the coolest snacks and what house do the children like to come to. But even when we have other children and we know that, you have the opportunity to influence other children, we need to make sure that those interactions are positive. Even just having conversations with the children, I think that they will appreciate that more over time. It's easy to give in to what kids want. They want to be popular. It's easy to you want them to have those things, but sometimes it's not in their best interest. Right. And like I said, I don't think parents really mean any harm. They just don't anticipate sometimes the risk that goes along with what they're doing.
And aside from the fire challenge, which has actually been deadly, there have been a couple of teens who have either had extreme burns or death.
Yeah.
And aside from that, before the fire challenge, there was the cinnamon challenge. So taking a tablespoon of cinnamon and trying to take it all down in 60 seconds. If you were to go on YouTube, there are like over 700,000 videos of this, right? And there have been so many health implications. In 2012, the U.S. Poison Control reported over 200 cases of cinnamon challenge issues, and like 30 needed medical assistance. What can you foresee, or what would be your thoughts on population health that are engaging in these behaviors through social media in the long term?
Right. You know what? In public health, it's our goal, too, to kind of try to harness the power of social media for good. But how these challenges, when they go viral, which means there's a lot of views for all of those 750 videos for the cinnamon challenge, you can count the views that are exponentially more than that. So people are being exposed to this. But I feel like one thing that is maybe a positive aspect is that these challenges tend to come and go. Even though we know they have serious health implications, for example, with the cinnamon challenge, the initial discomfort is nothing compared to the long-term damage to the lungs, and over time, over a lifetime, breathing problems that they will continue to have, through their older age. So part of it is, even though that we know that those challenges present a immediate and serious health risk, I guess part of the good news, if there is any.
Share the good news.
The good news is that the next challenge is going to come along. And so our hope is that for those things that have a negative health impact, that the period that it's going viral is short. And so usually the next challenge comes along, something else comes along. We don't expect for people to still be doing the cinnamon challenge next year at this time. So even though the health impact is serious and it is something we should be concerned about, that is the one bright part of that. I think part of the challenge is that if we could anticipate what's going to go viral, we would.
Right.
But that's the nature of going viral. These videos have to be something that is shocking or emotionally engaging, and we can't anticipate as public health professionals when it's going to happen or what the next thing is going to be. So we try to do our best to monitor it, to keep up with the trends, but it is just so difficult to tell when the next challenge is coming and where it's coming from.
And social media isn't all bad. Don't get us wrong.
No.
We're going to talk about some of the positive things like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and all those great things. So we're going to break, but when we come back, we'll be talking about some of the great impact that social media has had.
now I'm looking better. Right now, I'm feeling better. Right now, I'm living better. Right now, so turn it up.
Welcome back. We are talking social media and all the challenges and the impact on our health behaviors, our risky behaviors for teens, young adults, and everyone. And we are joined with Dr. Taronda Lee, and we were talking about the fire challenge, cinnamon challenges, all those things. But social media has had a positive impact with the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which is for Lou Gehrig's disease. In recent months, they have raised over $115 million due to this Ice Bucket Challenge. And so I guess that is the upside, that social media does have an upside. What are your thoughts on the Ice Bucket Challenge and its impact?
Right, well, it definitely is proof of, again, the power of social media. And so, definitely for social causes like ALS, there's a couple of new ones that are going around now where, for one, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing where men are being encouraged to check their private parts for cancer. So it's a testicular cancer awareness campaign that has kind of a cheeky name to it, but it is going viral because a lot of celebrities are participating in it. So, you know, like we said before, one challenge comes along and then the next thing comes. And so I guess the goal is to try to harness as much positive as we can out of each one of those. But the testicular cancer one is of particular interest because it is specifically health related, and because you see the level of participation, you know, like with celebrities and those kinds of things. So it definitely is powerful, but sometimes it has unintended effects. For example, the ALS Association, they may not have expected to get such an influx of cash. It's a good thing, but now the public wants to know, well, how are you going to spend that money? We want to see what are you going to do with those funds. We had something similar happen when the crisis in Haiti happened, when the earthquakes took place and people were donating to the American Red Cross, and they wanted to know, well, where is our money going? It kind of caused a little backlash. But even with that, it just says that social media is powerful. And, you know, like we were saying before, we want to try to harness it as much as possible. So far, we've been talking a lot about video challenges, but then social media is broad and wide, right? So we know that Twitter, other shorter video snippets like Vines and Instagrams, Facebook is kind of becoming a little bit passé, a little bit, but old people like me are still on Facebook. But all of those tools can be used intentionally to influence behavior for the good of our health. So for example, in Leon County, one of the pervasive health challenges that we have is infant mortality. And so right now, a group of researchers in the College of Pharmacy and the Center for Health Equity are trying to see how can we harness social media to really get young people involved in the idea of preconception health, to say that our communities really could be transformed by young people who take on this idea that they want to make a decision early on to be good parents and to be in good health so that they can be a positive force in their community. So we'll use platforms and materials like the Show Your Love campaign that the CDC is running right now and try to make those relevant in a local context. And so sometimes we will be doing videos with, you know, young people doing videos because that is a reinforcing kind of thing. But definitely trying to find ways to use social media for the good. And the ALS challenge is definitely a good example of that.
And as a public health practitioner, how do you see social media, the positive side of it, with its impact on public health? How do you see public health practitioners taking more advantage of social media to spread healthy behaviors as some of the ones you've mentioned? Right.
So one thing that we do is public health practitioners or anybody can use social media to educate themselves. that's part of how it works. So once somebody watches your show, then they go and watch it on YouTube, then that drives them to other information that they need from reliable sources. So getting people to the right sources of information is definitely part of how we see ourselves using social media. So for training, for example, the Institute of Public Health has a Twitter handle.
Okay.
So it's FAMU Public HLTH. And so sometimes you will get tweets from the Institute of Public Health about things that are going on here, about different health issues. So for example, we had a Ebola symposium the other day, and as the symposium was going on, people were tweeting from the Institute of Public Health. And so definitely getting more followers and getting people involved in that is one way that we can get our message out. Part of the goal of the Institute of Public Health is addressing health disparities.
Right.
And I feel that social media has the potential to be a great equalizer. Mm-hmm. Everyone has the same access to cell phone technology, whether you use a 4G or a 3G or you're still on 2G, you have the potential to access that same information. So for a lot of our communities that experience health disparities, that may need information, may need to be connected to resources, it can be a great equalizer.
Right.
So the same messages that we're able to get to any part of town, it doesn't matter whether you're rich, poor, who you are, you have access to those. So it holds a lot of promise for not only the training of health professionals, but getting information and resources to people who really need them.
So social media, in other words, it's meeting people where they are.
Oh, definitely.
It's meeting people right where they are, where their interests are. So if they're attracted to Facebook and you have health messages on Facebook, it helps there, or Instagram or Twitter. So that is the upside, definitely. To social media. So with our previous conversation, what would be your advice to parents?
You know, Jazmyne, the issues that we talked about with the fire challenge, the cinnamon challenge, they really are serious, and it really is overwhelming to even think that parents could be actively involved in, you know, helping their children participate. But our message to parents definitely is to monitor what their children are doing on social media, and as parents, we have to really take that role seriously. You know, some of us we get reinforcement from assisting our kids with doing those things, but you know, when we talk off camera, you know, it's like, I would say parents really just need to get their life
and get it together.
Serious, get it together, get it all the way together, bring it in, and focus on the long-term health and wellness of our kids. And it's just so tempting to kind of buy into the social media. You can become almost an instant celebrity through just one video. And sometimes it's something that, like I said, is shocking or it's provocative. And a lot of times those things are negative.
Right.
You know, so when the parents are engaging in fights on
Instagram,
these viral
YouTube.
videos, then we can't expect much more from the children. But I think definitely, I think that people really, we have to find ways to engage people in meaningful ways, to give them that sense of belonging and sense of celebrity in other ways, just through meaningful social interaction, getting out of our houses and out from in front of screens all of the time, and just having meaningful interactions with people that give us just as much reinforcement, that give us just as much self-confidence and fulfillment as engaging in those other behaviors.
So in other words, parents, get your life according to our guest today.
Get your life.
Because your children's lives depend on you getting your life. That was good.
Yeah,
So
was good.
what would be your advice? We've talked about parents and social media and the health field. What would be your advice to children if they're bored, if they're trying to fit in, all those kinds of things that are like drawing them in to participate?
Oh, you know what? They just want, like I said, they just want to be engaged. They just want a friend. They just want to have fun. And so I think there are other ways to do that, even if it's just, getting out and just getting outside. We know that part of the issue with, childhood obesity and some of the other emotional issues that we see with kids are just feeling isolated, and needing so much to be validated. That's why bullying and those kind of things are just so damaging and so pervasive. But any opportunity to get out and get active, be a part of different social groups that are doing positive things, get involved with things that are happening at FAMU, get involved in the Show Your Love campaign and those kinds of things.
What's the Show Your Love campaign?
So it's still just in the very early stages, but we really are serious about getting this message to kids to let them know that they are smart and kind and important.
Right.
But to let them know that, we are depending on them, that the health and the future of our whole community is depending on them. So we really are planning different ways to reach out to kids. It's concerning preconception health, but it's mostly just to let our kids know that we care and we love them and we want to invest in them. So a lot of groups around town are doing a lot of really positive things. I know that you've probably talked to the Distinguished Young Gentlemen, a lot of the other groups that, for example, the Deltas have youth groups.
Right. So
we really want to just draw more kids into those kinds of activities, get them out of the house, out from in front of the screen.
That's really good advice, because social media can give a false sense of acceptance. Yeah. And so we see 50 likes and we're like, oh my gosh, someone really cares. And they really, it's really not that deep. So getting those meaningful interactions, face-to-face engagement, that's some really good advice. And we thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We really do appreciate it. And we hope that at home we have helped you all. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll be giving you a heads up on what you can expect next week. So stick around.
Now I'm looking better, right now. I'm feeling better, right now. I'm living better.
Welcome back. We really hope this episode shed more light on social media, the good, the bad, the ugly, where we can all improve with not being so drawn into trying the first thing that we see. Consider our health, consider our lifespan and the healthy lives that we want to live before we indulge. For parents, take a stance. If you know it's harmful to your children, don't be so worried about fitting in. Protect them as much as you can. And for children, if you're bored, find other things to do. There's so many other ways that you can engage and be acknowledged and be loved and accepted without having to risk your health. On the other end, social media, as we saw, it can be used for positive things as well. So we won't be hammering social media too bad, because it has done a lot of good as well. Next week, we'll be talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD, and how oftentimes it goes undiagnosed or unrecognized. So we'll be talking about that. If you want to continue the conversation with us, join us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Jazmyne Show. Use your hashtags TJS, and if you want to chat about some of the health and news and health in Hollywood, use hashtag TJSHNHH. We'll be looking forward to discussing all the things we've talked about with you, and we definitely look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, I am your host, Jazmyne Simmons.
I wake up every morning with a mission. Thank the Lord for everything that I was given. Only give energy to positive things. Focus on the joy the day will bring.